So for our next session, I'll be presenting on optimizing infrastructure monitoring with automation, self-service, and observability. And of course, there are a number of things that can be done to optimize monitoring efficiency, and we're just going to cover a few of those things at a pretty high level, as we only have a half an hour to discuss this. And we'll focus on automation, we'll focus on self-service, and we'll also introduce some new ideas around observability. We're not going to talk about things like AI and some other more recent things that have come along that can truly help improve operational efficiency, but I'll touch on that maybe in a little bit later in today's session. So as I said, it's a very broad subject, and we're going to focus on a couple of areas. And really fundamentally, infrastructure monitoring at a certain level hasn't changed over the years. It's cause and effect. And there's a problem, you gather and analyze data, you define a resolution path, and you begin steps to resolve the problem. And there's likely some finger crossing that goes on along the way. Back when I first started in IT, which is a very long time ago, 35 years ago, in fact, the way we became aware of a problem is that users would come up to my desk and say, Harold, I can't log in. I can't access email. I can't access a printer. And so what I would do is get up, I'd go over to their workstation, I would check to make sure the network cable was plugged in, I'd check, I'd likely reboot their PC and see if that changed things. And if it didn't, I'd continue to gather other data points, analyze the data. I mean, think back 35 years ago, a lot of things could go wrong with a local area network. It was in the very early days of networking, and something as simple as a terminator could be unplugged at the end of a network cable, and that would cause the entire network to go down, believe it or not. So I know I'm dating myself in this, but it's there were many things that could fail, and today there still are. I mean, as complexity grows, more dynamic environments, there's many different components spread across different technologies, spread across multiple environments, and obviously the tools and technologies have gotten way better. Problem detection now in many cases happens automatically. We get an alert that there's a problem, or we get some other indicator that an issue has transpired. In many cases, some automated steps will then take place to perhaps attempt to resolve the problem, or if nothing else, to gather more information. And resolution paths have become more clear, and workflows to address those problems have become more clear as well, and more controlled. And so, obviously things have progressed, and efficiency has dramatically improved over the years. And when we're looking at optimization, it's how to improve service levels. That the bottom line is how do we provide a better level of service at a reduced costs to improve overall efficiency. And efficiency is something that comes up time and time again. It's actually one of the main sort of aspects of the new System Center release, where they focus on efficiency as well as some other things like security. But it's really a key subject to keep in mind as we look at tools and technologies and workflows. And so again, I'm really going to spend some time talking about and more so showing some automation steps to improve efficiency, as well as some self-service types of capabilities that can help us reduce the interaction IT has with the environment, with maintaining the environment, and can perhaps put more sort of tooling in the hands of stakeholders within the environment. And then I'll talk about observability, which is sort of, perhaps maybe the new kid on the block. Has certainly been around for a while, but I'll talk about how we can leverage some observability types of technologies and workflows to improve operational efficiency. So So again, automation, we hear from our customers, we hear a lot of different examples and scenarios about how they are introducing automation or leveraging automation within their environment. And it's sort of an obvious, intuitive way that we use to make IT more efficient, make it more effective. We hear about it through our sort of lens, which is, we're in the SCOM management pack business. So we hear about this mostly from customers who are automating some of the workings with management packs, right from all the way from authoring management packs to automatically tuning those management packs, to enhancing them, creating new views or what have you. Lots of examples of commissioning or decommissioning infrastructure and applications via automation. A lot of our customers are automating the interaction with ServiceNow and being able to automatically triage ServiceNow tickets and automate the resolution whenever possible. And we've heard about some automation things from David's session, Kevin's session at the end of today. Will be certainly more discussion about automation, and really lots of things that we can do to automate workflows within our environment to be able to improve efficiency. And the other thing for us, of course, is we talk to our customers about self-service. And self-service, from our perspective, is really about putting the right tools in the hands of the right people with the right boundaries in place. And it really helps you provide a more transparent type of service to your end users or to your stakeholders. And through some technologies and again through some workflows, stakeholders are able to customize. They're able to view the state of the IT assets where they are, what they're responsible for. They're able to customize monitoring settings. They're able to set up notifications and maintenance schedules, use SCOM workflows to help them understand how the monitoring is taking place and perhaps things that they can do better as a stakeholder, and perhaps they're an application expert. Maybe maybe it's a SQL team or an AD team where they're able to view and maintain their own workflows. So let's go ahead and take a look at some examples of both automation and self-service. I'm going to focus really more on the self-service side of things. Again, we've seen some automation already. We're going to see more towards the end of the session today. I'll touch on one kind of pretty simple example, and then we'll spend a little more time talking about self-service, and then we'll come back and have a discussion around observability. Okay, so in the demonstration today, we're going to cover probably a pretty simple example, and it's going to be showing you how we can use some APIs that we've developed to help automate. In this case, automate setting a maintenance mode. And so what I'm going to do is basically create a maintenance dashboard and showing you how to go about leveraging our API to be able to create a maintenance dashboard, which is going to show maintenance schedules, and then allow users to set maintenance mode on any endpoints that they are allowed to do so. And the purpose of this session really isn't about the dashboard itself. It's really more just showing you how easy it is to interact with in this case, with our REST API. And you'll see a little bit of Grafana in here as well. And I will say also that MP Studio has a very extensive API, which is great for PowerShell interaction. So let's first of all take a look at our portal interface. And so this is our portal Swagger interface. So this basically documents the REST API that we make available through the Silect portal. And we have a bunch of different categories here. And if I just, for example, expand one of these categories, you can see all the calls that we make accessible through any one of these categories. So again, we're going to step through creating a dashboard and then linking to another dashboard that's going to call a series of APIs to be able to set maintenance mode on an endpoint. So the first thing we need to do is authenticate with the portal. And so I'm just going to go off screen here for a moment. Let's try it out. So I'm going to use Contoso Administrator. And again, I'm just going to go off screen here for a moment and be able to put in the, sorry. I'm going to put in the password. So once I've put that password in, I just scroll down and I'm going to execute this call. And again, just off screen, I did the authentication. The response back from the API is going to give me this token that we're going to make use of. And so what I'm going to do is carefully copy and paste. Carefully copy and paste this token. There might be a better way of doing this too. And we're going to authenticate with that token. Now, I think I copied a quote in there, which I shouldn't have. So this is going to basically authorize me to across all the different APIs through the Swagger interface. And the reason I'm doing this is it's a great way to interact with the API to sort of test out the calls that you might want to be using as part of your automation solution. And so now that we've authenticated, let's try out a call just to make sure that authentication actually works. I'm going to use this very first audit call, which is basically going to show us a list of changes to management packs within our environment. Let's try it out. I'm going to put in, let's say, a 7-day period. And what we should see is, as we see in the response body, we'll see a list of management packs that have changed. And we capture some other metadata. But this is showing us that call is actually working, which is great. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to flip over to my Grafana instance. I'm going to go Connections, and I'm going to add a new connection. So I'm going to go to Connections, and I'm going to look at my existing data sources. So Grafana, if you're not familiar with Grafana, it basically can access data across a number of different environments and pull that in together. It's got some pretty compelling ways of viewing that information and lots of different options. We're going to touch on this a little bit, but I'm going to add a new data source, which is going to be, and you can do a search here, but we're going to use a data source called Infinity, which supports the REST API. And for authentication, we're actually going to use the same authentication token that I used previously for the Swagger interface. And oh yeah, I need to add the Silect portal host here. And let's go ahead and save and test that. And so we've now authenticated with Grafana, and let's create a new dashboard using that data source. Add the visualization. I'm going to access the, I should have renamed that data source to something more meaning than that. Let's give that a try. So so first of all, I'm going to be working with tables. So we're going to select the table view. Grafana likes to put things in time series format, which is great, but it's not really applicable for what we're doing here. And now it's prompting me for the actual REST call. So let's go back to my Swagger interface. I'm going to scroll down to the maintenance schedules. And we're going to use this very first call, maintenance schedules. Now you see, if we try this out, again, this is a way of testing it. I need to provide it with an alias. So the SCOM alias, which is the name of the SCOM environment we want to run this against. And so if this is successful, I should see a list of schedules, maintenance schedules that exist within this environment. So let's go ahead and just do a copy and paste of that over to Grafana. And as we saw, I needed to provide this additional parameter. So I'm going to add a header. We're going to use that SCOM alias. And we're going to say SCOM 2019. Let's go ahead and do a refresh. And there we see the maintenance schedules in Grafana. I'm going to, not all that information is needed. So let's add a transformation. The transformation, I'm basically just going to filter out some of that data. So here you can see just some of the capabilities within Grafana of being able to manipulate the data that we're seeing. I'm just going to hide some of these things. I'm going to reorder. So let's bring a schedule name up to the top. What else don't we need? Probably don't need a lot of this other stuff. So status, maybe we'll just move this status as well. Okay, so let's go ahead and save that. Title, we're going to call this maintenance schedules. Save that. This panel title, we'll just call it the same thing. Okay, so very simple example of being able to display maintenance schedules in Grafana. So this is just an HTTP accessible dashboard. What I'd like to do next is to add a dashboard to this, add a visualization to this that's going to show us the systems that we are that are available to us and that we're allowed to put into maintenance. So again, I'm going to change this to a table view. I'm going to change the output to table. And the data source that we're being prompted for here, we're going to use that, that same REST API data source. And we're going to use, let's go back to Swagger, we're going to use a different call here, potential targets. And this is all well documented within our within our docs for the portal. So this is going to show me the potential target, just like the name indicates. It's going to show us what systems we'll be allowed to put into maintenance. I'm going to put in that alias. This class just tells us the type of system, so I'm just going to look at Windows endpoints. So I'm going to use a class of 1. And so here are the list of systems that we can put into maintenance. Let's go back. Let's take this link. Let's go back to our panel. Let's copy and paste that in here. Let's run this to see that it works. Yes, it does work. I can, again, do some transformations. And I'm just going to do that to remove some of that information that we don't need. So let's get rid of that class. Full name, group, don't need that. Don't need that. Okay, save. Okay, so this is, I should have renamed that panel there too. Okay, so there's our dashboard. We've got a very simple a list of agents that we can set in maintenance mode. We've got a set of maintenance schedules. The next thing to do now is to create the last sort of dashboard or view, which is going to actually allow the user to click on one of these endpoints and set maintenance mode for that endpoint. So the way we're going to do that is we're going to add a new dashboard. So let's go back to our dashboards page. I'm going to create a new dashboard. Visualization, we're going to use that same portal REST API data source that we created earlier. Again, going to select that, that table view. And in this case, we're going to go back to Swagger to look at the call that actually is used to set maintenance mode. And if I go up here, and that call is set maintenance mode, as the name would indicate. And if we look at this, we can see a couple things. So it does still have that SCOM alias, but it also has this body. It has some other parameters that we're going to need to set. So let's go ahead and copy this. I'm just going to this is going to fail, but I really just want to be able to copy and paste this link. So let's get that call. Just going to put it in here. And so next, this is not a get. The other calls we made were gets, which retrieves information. This is actually a post. So I do need to change the method to post. We're going to add that header as we did previously. And so the header is SCOM alias to say which environment. And I'm not sure if that's SCOM 2019. And then we're going to add that body. Remember we saw that body here, and I'm actually going to copy and paste this. And we're going to set that body up here. It's a JSON. And let's go ahead and paste this in. Need to change a couple of these parameters. So this is just going to be literally going to be a quick set of maintenance to 5 minutes. So the time is going to be 5. The end time is going to be null because it's a timed maintenance as opposed to something that ends at a specific time. I'm just going to use null for the reason. And the thing I need to change here is the string. We're actually going to pass a parameter from that dashboard that we created just a minute ago, and we're going to pass that to this particular dashboard. So let's just put a parameter being agent. Let's go ahead and save that. So back to dashboard. So we're not seeing any data there yet, which is fully expected. Couple things I need to do. I need to capture the actual identifier for this dashboard, which is what Grafana sets. So I'm just going to copy and paste that. And I also need to add a variable. And so that variable is going to be the name of the agent. It's actually going to be the ID of the agent we're putting into maintenance. So I'm going to use a variable called agent. And the data source is going to be, it's going to be in the URL. So I just need to select this Grafana query option, and we should be all set. Let's save that. And let's go back to that other dashboard that we created. We're going to edit this guy. And now what I'm going to do, the last thing I need to do is I need to set that linkage. So I'm going to add a data link to this dashboard. It's going to use that URL that I copied, that identifier for that particular item. And then I also need to pass it the variable name. And the way I do that is by, I'm just going to again do a copy and paste here, by referencing one of the fields that appears in that report. And that field is the ID, and we're going to pass that variable called agent. Let's go ahead and save that. Save the dashboard. And so now we've set up that linkage, so you can see this is a link. What should happen is that once I click on any one of these endpoints, it should take us to that other dashboard, which executes that post command to set maintenance for that particular endpoint. And so here we can see that it was successful. It set the maintenance for that system. So let's actually just verify that. Let's go into our monitoring setting here. Let's look at our Windows agents. And what we should see here in just a minute is that top computer going into maintenance, which it has, which is great. So if we wanted to, run through that again, we could go back. We could look at maybe let's just click on this next guy, set maintenance for that Azure Stack 2 item. Go back to our SCOM console, do a refresh. And so again, this example, it's not really, the purpose of this wasn't to show you how to create a maintenance dashboard. The purpose was showing you how we can interact effectively with that REST API. If you have a scenario where you need to automate some maintenance or setting the maintenance mode for something within your environment, we certainly provide you with that, a very flexible, powerful way of doing that using that REST API. Okay, so I am already taking more time than I had planned because the other thing I wanted to show you was some self-service capability. And so I'm going to, and so that maintenance mode example that we just showed, we've simplified that whole thing within the portal. So we use the same API, but we give you this interface to allow you to access that directly through our particular web interface. And so the portal here is, again, designed to deliver a self-service capability to stakeholders within your environment. I'm logged in here as a member of the IIS team, and so we have a responsibility for a small footprint of the IIS services running within our infrastructure. And so we're going to use the portal to interact with those services. And so here I can see there are 4 endpoints that are part of the group that I have access to. So I'm allowed to come in here and set maintenance on any one of these endpoints. We have the ability to set maintenance schedules as well for, again, we can set it for covering those classes or groups that we have access to. And if I'm sort of moving back up the list here, if I look at the health viewer feature in the portal, we leverage our Grafana dashboards, and I can see the health state of those systems that are in our environment. I can see I have 4 in total. I get any active alerts for systems within that particular group. I get the overall health state for those systems, and as I move down, we've got a whole bunch of other information that we make available to you. But here I can get a pretty high-level view of the health state of those endpoints. If I look at discovered inventory, and let's scope this down again to the systems that I have access to. Let's say we want to look at application pools. I'll get an inventory of all the application pools that exist within the environment, again, that I have access to, and we've added this health state to it as well. So this is very much like the discovered inventory view within the SCOM console, but of course we're delivering this via the web portal interface to a user who's has a limited role within the environment. We do surface up notifications as well, so users can create their own addresses and schedules and subscriptions, so they can be notified if exactly what they want to see. And if they have existing, addresses, existing schedules, and subscriptions, they can come in here and edit. And of course, we provide a means of interacting with the management packs. So for the users who are, in this case, they only have access to a project folder that consists of, these are a couple of override management packs that they have either developed or are running in production. They have access to those same sealed management packs, and all the work they do is offline. They can make any changes, overrides, do any customizations they want. When they are done, we will notify the sort of the central admin who is responsible for the SCOM environment of those changes, allow them to review the changes before deploying those out to their environment. And last but not least, there's a set of agent workflows that they're able to see the actual set of SCOM workflows running on an agent. So that's our self-service portal, again, designed to give stakeholders a view into their environment and the parts of the environment that they're responsible for. So let's go back to our slides and get to the very last sort of topic, which is observability, and really, trying to think through how observability fits into delivering operational efficiency. And as we are, starting to see more and more examples of really strong observability platforms, they can offer great troubleshooting capabilities. They can offer advanced capabilities and some great advanced analytical capabilities. They can introduce AI. And what we are seeing is that they can do all of that using the existing data you already have within your SCOM environment. And so the first thing we need to do is, well, what is observability? And there are a number of different definitions. A very common definition is observability consists of sort of a few different pillars, one of them being alerts. So alerts tell us, that something is wrong. Metrics is another key pillar of observability, and that can help us understand what went wrong. So maybe there's I'm not sure, maybe the SQL, maybe an application isn't responding. properly or quickly enough to end users. Maybe metrics tell us there's a bottleneck on the SQL instance that's hosting the back end, as an example. Logs are another way to help us dig into, understand why it went wrong. Maybe logs show us that there's some locking happening or some other things happening within the SQL environment causing that application failure. And, and the fourth pillar is traces. And if we need to dig into the application itself to see what's happening, certainly trace files are a very effective way of doing that. And so observability provides, sort of defines visibility across that entire stack of information to give you, really good insights into everything, everything you need to know about a particular incident or issue, and help you troubleshoot that and with a view of reducing the overall time it takes to troubleshoot, with the view of providing a means of defining higher alert fidelity. Fewer alerts obviously require less action because you have a better level of operation within your environment. They also allow faster detection of problems, so you don't get the storms of alerts, ultimately resulting in less downtime. And the way to kind of pull all that together is through OpenTelemetry. And so today we're talking about and introducing the Silect OpenTelemetry exporter for SCOM. And really what's that about is bringing together that information in a way that's consumable by platforms such as Grafana, as we'll see in a minute, or by other systems as well. So OpenTelemetry is a standard in the observability world that it allows for, or rather defines how to structure these data points, whether it's alerts, metrics, logs, traces, and how to make them available and accessible to other platforms. And so this really provides great integration opportunities with observability platforms, provides a simpler way to interact with those systems, and many vendors out there support OpenTelemetry, including Dynatrace, Splunk, Datadog. There are many others. Azure has support for OpenTelemetry as well. And again, it's a great way if you're running one of these other tools within your environment, maybe an application team or you have an observability group. It's a great way of bringing your SCOM environment and delivering some transparency and some visibility into these other tools, but as well giving you the ability to take advantage of some of the other emerging technologies in the observability space, such as advanced analytics, AI, machine learning, and some other things. So let's take a quick look at what we're doing in that space. So I'm going to flip back over to my demo, and we're going to go back to Grafana. And we're going to go back to the dashboard, and this is something that I showed you a little bit earlier within the Silect portal. So this is showing us some high-level state information. But what we're done now is we provided you the ability to drill down and look at these endpoints. So you can see I've got the health state of a number of these endpoints. I'm going to select one of our hosts to be able to drill down, and this is an example of bringing that information together. So here I'm seeing the health state for, in this case, we have a system that's hosting a bunch of VMs. I can see the alerts. I can see the alert history based on this time frame, which is entirely changeable. As I look for a little bit further down, we see the state of each of the monitors that are running on that particular host, and you can see there's a lot. These are monitors and instances of those monitors. If I scroll a little bit further down, we'll see some event log information. So this is these are events as viewed by SCOM, and we can start to assimilate and combine this information to perhaps, if there is an issue on that platform, we'll have a lot of the information that we're going to need to help us troubleshoot that issue. And as I move further down, we start seeing some of the metrics, including some of the key indicators of the performance of that system, whether it's CPU, memory, disk, network. And if this is Grafana lets you drill down on this information, you can look at a specific time frame to be able to see what transpired during that particular time frame. Alternatively, we can expand this out to look at a few days worth of information to give us more trend type information. And if I want to drill down even further and look at more detailed performance metrics for this particular endpoint, we have the ability to do that as well. So here we're looking at that same host, but we're looking specifically at all the metrics that SCOM makes available for that host. And we're doing some visualization of those metrics. In this case, we're looking at a bunch of different metrics on memory. We can look at any of these other categories of performance counters. This machine is also a DNS server, so we can look at DNS stats. We can look at AD. We can look at logical disk. There's obviously a lot of other things that a lot of other metrics that SCOM collects that we can analyze using this tool. And so we're not collecting any new information. We're not telling SCOM to do anything else. But what we're doing is we're scraping that information out of SCOM, in this case presenting it within the Grafana interface. But just equally, this could be presented in other, or could be provided to other tools for presentation within their environments as well. So that's a quick demo of sort of how we're working towards integrating observability into the overall infrastructure efficiency equation and trying to help you do more with less. And so I've showed you a pretty simple example of automation, and again you'll see some more in a little bit with Kevin's session. So we've got some great self-service capabilities. We've extended our Grafana dashboards, and today we're introducing that open telemetry exporter for SCOM to help you integrate SCOM into your existing observability framework.